Hey everybody out there, hope you guys are all doing well. I know it's been a while since you've all seen my lovely face, but I actually wanted to do some discussion videos today and just talk to you guys for a bit. There's a couple things on my mind, but one of the things I want to talk about specifically today is the Yu-Gi-Oh! Secondary market. Now, granted, there's a bunch of things I want to talk to you guys about this, but there's pretty much two main points I want to discuss about. The collector's Yu-Gi-Oh! Market, and in addition to that, pretty much just Yu-Gi-Oh! As a whole over the course of pretty much the last 6 to 7 months. And just 2020 in general, how we've seen such a drastic change in the secondary market this year. Now, this is due to, I think, a multitude of different reasons, which we're going to talk about a little bit today. But these are the main key things I wanted to talk about. So let's get first off talking about modern Yu-Gi-Oh! And then we'll talk about the secondary collector's market, which I think is very interesting. Now, for me personally, I've been playing Yu-Gi-Oh! For going on almost 20 years now, it seems like. When I was started playing, I didn't have any white hair, and now that I just turned 30 a few months ago, I have all this wonderful white hair, right? So yeah, I was actually born with white hair, so technically I did have it when I started Yu-Gi-Oh! But shh, beside the point, makes it more epic. But beside that, guys, seriously, we've seen the Yu-Gi-Oh! Game get super expensive to some degree recently. Now, there's a couple of different reasons for this, and even before we had Crush Card happening, quote unquote, and things of that nature going on back in March, we were starting to see this already happen in Yu-Gi-Oh! When the new Master Rule got announced, if you recall, back in December of last year, of 2019, we started to see a lot of what I would call buyouts. Now, this is normal if a new Master Rule was being announced, but you saw the Yu-Gi-Oh! Community at that time get very excited about the future of Yu-Gi-Oh! A lot of old school players I know personally came back during that time frame. And I have seen, even though we really haven't had a lot of legit events with the new Master Rule, I mean, heck, we haven't even had a YCS under Master Rule 5 to my unless there's one I'm forgetting somewheres. I mean, I don't even think we've had a regionals even. I know we've had some local tournaments, but we haven't really had anything under Master Rule 5. For Pete's sake, really. We haven't even had a ban list currently under Master Rule 5, technically. We had one before April. Master Rule 5 took effect, and we haven't had a ban list since. So people have been super hyped for Master Rule 5 is my main point, which I think is one of the reasons why you're seeing card prices going up. There's more demand, and the supply right now, currently, is a lot less. This is due to many different factors because of what's going on in the world right now and in the United States, I think. But there's you hear this terminology thrown out a lot recently, short printed, and that's short printed by card, like short printed because they didn't make enough product. We saw the UK and Europe actually second wave Toon Chaos because of this reason. Now the US may do it down the road, I think. I firmly believe that will happen most likely. But you've seen this happen, you've heard this, and I don't know the case ratios. I don't know how many boxes were printed because of this, how short is short, but you keep hearing through different distributors and stores that they're not getting their full product that they put in. So granted, that is the case, but even in that case, we've seen with recent sets and even Toon Chaos to some degree, we've seen that even if that is the case, that doesn't mean that everything is expensive. It just means maybe it's a higher bar for a certain amount of cards and the rest fall out. But overall, in general, we've started to see something in Yu-Gi-Oh! Which we haven't seen in a long time. And I'm not talking about collector's cards, which is going to be the second part of this video, but I'm just talking about cards in general. We've seen a lot of cards now go, and a lot of staple cards be in this $80 to $90 range to some degree. Now, granted, we've seen them fluctuate as well, right? But we have seen this start to happen again. Now, granted, each format that's ever been in Yu-Gi-Oh! there's been some expensive cards. What, a year ago it was probably Infinite Impermanence and a pot of Desires, not Desires. We had Pot of Desires a few years ago, and then we've had these different cards that go up. So there's always expensive cards in a format, but from my observation, from what I'm seeing, there's a lot more play sets of expensive cards. And I'm not talking about collectors rare yet. That's a different topic, and that's a different part of this video. So, what's causing this exactly? Well, I think there's more players coming back to the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Number one. And I think due to the fact that some product is probably less being printed right now, could be another reason as well. So I think these are some of the reasons that you've seen Yu-Gi-Oh! Prices go up. Plus, people are, money's a little bit more scarce at the moment to some degree, so maybe people are trying to make more money in certain ways. Now, let's transition a little bit to this other point of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Market, which I think I may even do, if you guys enjoy this video, a like and give it enough thumbs up. I would love to delve into more, and that is the collector's market in Yu-Gi-Oh! Now, this may take up a majority of this video here, and even go a little bit over 10 minutes, 5-6 minutes talking about this. But, the collector's market in Yu-Gi-Oh! Has been this very interesting beast that I've seen develop over the course of probably the last 2 to 3 years. I start to see it develop with GOAT format initially. Old school Yu-Gi-Oh! DD, and we had our signature expensive cards, right? Your DDS Blue Eyes, your DDS Dark Magician, some of these classic, championship cards, prize cards. We've always seen that in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! That's always been a thing, but there was just certain cards that were very collectible in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! It's kind of in the same vein that when you think of Pokemon, what's the most expensive card if you think off the top of your head if you've played Pokemon since the beginning? First Ed Charizard base set, right? When you think of Magic the Gathering, yes, there's a lot of expensive cards, but what's the number one that pops off in your head, right? Black Lotus, right? So you get what I'm trying to say. Like the same thing was in Yu-Gi-Oh! There's some expensive First Ed cards, but like DDS Blue Eyes, DDS Dark Magician, that's what I always thought of for collectors rare besides tournament prize cards. So that's what we saw for a good majority of Yu-Gi-Oh's history. But over the course, after that, we started to see stuff in GOAT format go up because people enjoy GOAT format. And now we're seeing, different age range. And we started to see stuff going up slowly. I used to see stuff from, the original Yu-Gi-Oh series start to go up in price because those Yu-Gi-Oh players now had money that played that back when they were a kid. They're adults now. They have money. They have full-time jobs. They're spending it a little bit on Yu-Gi-Oh! As a hobby, right? Makes sense. We've seen this happen with Pokemon. We've seen it happen with Magic. We've seen it happen with many different things, actually. But then we start to see, we've seen recently, we saw GX. And if you've paid attention over the last year to 2 years, what do we start to see get brought out more? GX, right? GX cards start to get brought out more. And now I'm starting to see 5D cards start to go away a little bit more and become more expensive. And, a part of me understands it. These cards are not being reprinted. A card like I have right here, this is not First Ed, but this is near mint for sure. Like this Ultimate Rare, Black Rose Dragon that I've had, for Pete's sake, I've probably had this since the set dropped, right? I think. So, I've had this card for ages, right? This card that I picked up, I think it was in high school, for $10-12, right? From a buddy of mine. Probably $20 max in trade. Has doubled in price. And that you could say that's due to inflation. I remember buying this card for a couple bucks back in the day. Wasn't much. I remember that it was less than $20. And if I look up online, certain cards that I've brought just a few years ago have started multiplying in price, and it's ridiculous. About a year and a half ago, I think it was, I brought a Dark Arm Dragon Ultimate Rare, not Dark Arm Dragon, Dark Law Ultimate Rare from Tournament Pack, right, from OTS Pack. I brought that card for $33. Go look up online right now what Dark Law, Masked Hero Dark Law is going for right now. I kind of tripled, maybe even quadrupled my investment, possibly. You know, Stratos, right? And I'm not tooting my own horn here. I got a Stratos Ultimate Rare for 23 bucks. How much is that right now? How much is that going to be a couple years from now? Iconic card, right? It's always going to be played in Heroes, to my understanding. You tell me. And this is just like, I'm just giving some examples that come to my mind, right? There are a multitude of cards that I own that I have in binders and whatnot, that I'm just like going through it. I'm looking up prices and I'm just like, it just flabbergasts me. Random stuff, random ultimate rares that I knew back in the day were worth poo-poo caca to anyone. No one cared about it. They would throw it away in the trash can. Literally, I seen it, you know? And now it's worth money. One man's trash, another man's treasure, literally. But come on, like some of the times I'm looking at certain cards in Yu-Gi-Oh that are being brought out from different eras, and some of them I'm like, okay, aesthetically that looks nice. Okay, I get it, right? And then sometimes I'm looking at it and I'm like, that was never played in the meta. It doesn't look nice. Why is this brought out? Who thought this was a good idea? It makes me wonder sometimes. You know, some of it I think is legit. You know, people buying stuff out. You know, there's different ways you can see when there's a buyout and when it's legit over time. It's starting to disappear over a period of a few months to maybe a year or two. You know, we see this. A good example I feel like is Horus the Black Flame Dragon level 8 Ultimate Rare. That card I have seen for the last 5 years get brought out and disappear after disappear after disappear off the market constantly. Probably in the last 5 years, I'm going to be honest with you, as a person who went to, you know, worked at a card shop, used to go to multiple events, saw multiple different binders. You know how many Horus level 8 Ultimate Rares I probably saw in the last 5 years of Yu-Gi-Oh? I can count it on one hand. I know that much. Legitly, I know. I've been keeping track actually. So you see what I'm trying to see. Now, you know, that's a small sample size there. That's not saying that that's that rare, but you get what I'm trying to show you and explain here. Some of it I think is a little bit of artificial hype, and some of it I think is legit. Now, let's bring this back around a little bit, you know, to recently, what we've seen going on a lot. Especially over this last, not even a full year yet, I think it's been, since we had, you know, Starlight Rares coming out, right? And over this past year, we've seen Konami come out with all these different rarities, right? Starlight Rare, Collector's Rare, this, that rare. Remember, you know, we had what? We had all these Collector's Rares people were hyping out of Toon Chaos. Then Battles of Legend comes out, and we see everybody hyping, you know, what? All of these cards like Thousand Dragon and Utopia, and I'm looking at these prices and I'm like, okay. Okay. Like, and you may say to yourself, what do you mean okay? What I'm trying to say is, and this is my personal take, I don't care. I don't care about that. Yu-Gi-Oh is a card game. You can invest in it, right? And I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to give you a good example right now of something. A story. A little bit of a story here. You can invest in Yu-Gi-Oh all you want, and you may make your money back. But I'm going to tell you, even if you buy that card and it's worth that much and you paid for it, it doesn't mean it's going to sell right away when you want to sell it. Perfect example. This is just one example out of probably a whole bunch I could give. When I used to work at a card shop over a year ago, there was a card in the binder that was worth about 90 bucks, right? That card had been in that binder for 3 years. Near mint, pulled out of the pack. I saw it be pulled out of the pack 3 years ago, like 3 years before I started working there. It sat in that binder for probably 3.5 years until we finally lowered the price enough so someone would buy it. Just because the market says it's worth this doesn't mean it's going to sell for this. That's what I'm trying to say to you. And if you're wondering what that card was, it was a First Ed Near Mint Gate Guardian. Look it up online. It didn't sell for that. Nobody would buy it. You have to find the right people, and sometimes that can be very hard to sell certain cards. Just because Thousand Dragons worth this much, or Utopia or something, or one Starlight Rare is worth this much, doesn't mean that when you're ready to sell it, it's gonna sell right away for the price you want. It doesn't. It doesn't happen all the time. Sometimes, yes, it will. If it's a meta playable card. Being honest, if it's meta and it's playable, like John Moore's always said, and I agree with it, it will sell faster. But if it's not, it may take a little bit longer than you think. Just being honest. Doesn't mean it won't sell. Just saying it may take longer. So that's my experience, and that's even personally from cards I've tried to sell that I've had that are expensive. And granted, are there people out there that will pay the money to buy it? Yes, of course there is, but you gotta find them. And people say, well, I can just throw it on TCG Player, I can throw it on eBay. How? I don't know if that... I have to take a look at it, but have those show and jump cards from back in the day, like Crush cards, sold recently? Or are they still up on TCG Player for the price they're at? I have to go check after this video. But you get what I'm saying. Just because it's up for a certain price does not mean it will sell for that price. So that's why I don't invest in Yu-Gi-Oh! If I'm going to invest in Yu-Gi-Oh! It's because I'm doing it for the channel. And I'm just taking what I'm making off the channel and I'm putting it back into Yu-Gi-Oh! Just a circle. Goes round and around and around. And that's what I do. I'll put a little money in it maybe if I want to buy a certain card. Like, back in the day, I loved Akiza, loved Black Rose Dragon. I spent a little bit of money to get a card I wanted. Cool. Got my money back on it twice. Cool. I'm not going to complain. So you get what I'm trying to say here, guys. There's, I think the collector's market has potential. But don't be thinking that it's like this gold mine. And I'm going to be honest with you personally, and this is just a personal thing, and it may show a little bit of bias, which it probably does. I don't like I don't like these new rarities that much, to be honest. And people are hyping up this ghost rare, Winged Dragon of Ra we're getting out of this next set. It looks cool, it's but I remember how damaged ghost rares could look. It was very hard to find a near mint ghost rare. Because ghost rares get damaged so easily. I think people forgot that. So you're going to get a lot of 8s and 9s probably, even if you pull it pack fresh. But to get a 10? Yeah. But is it worth the gamble? You get what I'm trying to say here. I hope. I've looked at these different rarities as they've come out and I've held them in my hand and I'm like, it looks nice, but I'm not paying that for it. I'll get the cheaper version. Thank you. That's just me. That's just me. And if you want to spend your money on that, be my guest. Be my guest. But that's just not what I like to spend my money on, man. There's other things in life. But till next time, guys, take care. Have fun dueling. Good luck dueling. Tell me your thoughts down below about the Yu-Gi-Oh! Market right now. What are your thoughts on it, the collector's market, and everything of that nature. I'll see you guys next time.